The NBA is at a point where every single team is basically set in stone with their players, coaching staff, and everything. Today I'm going to be doing my standing predictions for the Eastern Conference and Western Conference. Because I have a lot of teams to go through, I'm not going to be going in depth for every single team, maybe for the teams that are at the top that are real close to each other, but I'm going to go quick and we're going to get through all these teams. A quick reminder before we get into the video, a big portion of y'all are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, and if you see potential in my content or you like it already, I'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. It really does go a long way in this channel, and I appreciate it, and let's get on to the video. Starting with the Western Conference, we're going to go to 15 to number 1, and at 15 I have the San Antonio Spurs. Now for the Spurs, I'm a Spurs fan myself. This hurts me to say, but I do think we're going to be last in the Western Conference. We're going to be in the race for the first pick in the draft, which is a good thing as of right now, but gonna have to go through a long season of constant losing. But yes, the Spurs are last in my opinion. For number 14, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. With the loss of Chet Holmgren, I think that'll be a pretty significant loss, and I don't think he was gonna elevate them to making the playoffs or something, but I do think that was kind of tough, and if it wasn't for him getting injured, they might be like a spot or two up. But with his injury and them not getting like significantly better, I think they're still one of the bottom teams in the West. At number 13, I have the Utah Jazz, who have completely revamped their whole entire roster with the trades of, getting rid of Rudy Gobert, getting rid of Donovan Mitchell, and it's getting a bunch of picks and a few young players as well. And also probably going to be trading Mike Conley soon, Rudy Gay, who was it, Jordan Clarkson. They have some young players who might, play pretty decently with them compared to their last teams they were on, but definitely no one that's going to elevate them to the playoffs or even close. At number 12, I have the Houston Rockets. I think they're a very good young team. I don't think they'll make the playoffs or anything. As I said, they're number 12. But I think, their young players are starting to develop with Kevin Porter Jr., Sengun, Jalen Green, and all these players. I think they'll be developing over time, and over time they'll be, getting more wins on the board and everything. So I believe they'll be number 12 this coming up year. At number 11, I have the Sacramento Kings. The Kings it's real close. They might make the playoffs, but I don't see the people above them not making the playoffs, honestly. I think the Kings will be right there, and with the team of Fox and Sabonis and a couple other players. But the Kings, I think, are just missing some pieces and everything. But the Kings are real close to playing and everything. But I think they'll eventually get there in the next couple of years. At number 10, I have the Trailblazers, with them getting Damian Lillard fully healthy this coming up year. Jeremy Grant, Nurkic, they acquired GP2 in this past offseason. I think this team is going to be pretty good offensively. Defense is kind of the big question in this team. But when you have Chauncey Billups as a coach, they might get that fixed. They might be higher. I don't think they'll be any lower than this, but I think they can maybe surprise everyone being higher than I have them here at number 10. But as of right now, I do have them 10, just barely making the play-in. At number 9, I have the Los Angeles Lakers, just also barely making it into the play-in. This year, it's so tight with the standings and every team being so close against each other, and all these teams actually getting way better. I just don't see the Lakers with these past deals they've made so far. I don't see them as huge deals where I'm okay, I can definitely put them above so-and-so team, and they'll definitely make the playoffs. The Lakers still have LeBron, they still have Anthony Davis. Those two won a championship together in 2020, but Anthony Davis has been injury prone ever since that finals run. They added Westbrook, who has been not good with them as we've seen. And they've added some good players like Lonnie Walker, Thomas Bryant, Patrick Beverley, but as I said before, none of these deals are splashes, and I'm okay, they'll definitely make the playoffs and they'll be in contention for the finals. The Lakers, I just think they'll be a very, mid-level team that's coming up here. Who knows, they'll prove me wrong, but as of right now, I have them at number 9. At number 8, I have the Timberwolves with the newly acquired Rudy Gobert. I think the Timberwolves, I think they were number 9 last season or number 7. I actually don't know where they were last year, but I have them number 8. I don't think Rudy Gobert will elevate them above some of the teams I have above them right now. With the Rudy Gobert trade, they also got rid of some pretty key pieces to their team, like Vanderbilt, Patrick Beverley. Those two players were a pretty big reason why they did pretty good last year, and made it to the playing game. I think the loss of those two was pretty significant, but of course they did give Rudy Gobert one of the greatest defenders in our generation. But I think the West is so stacked this coming up season. I don't think the Timberwolves outweigh some of the, heavy hitters coming up next. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs with, Rudy Gobert having a history of, being schemed around in the playoffs and being able to be taken out the game basically. And that's why I got them at number 8. At number 7, I have the Denver Nuggets being led by the back-to-back MVP Nikola Jokic. The Denver Nuggets are finally going to be healthy this coming up year with Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. They got players like Ish Smith and KCP. This team looks very nasty, and with the back-to-back MVP on their team, he can make this team look incredible, even better than what we thought. So I won't be surprised if the team is better than the number 7 spot. I honestly think they can go from number 7 to number 5 at this point. Honestly, having the Nuggets at 7 kind of feels disrespectful, I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't be surprised if you move them up at all. I probably will eventually regret having him at number 7, but I just think this West is so stacked. But at the moment, I have the Nuggets at 7. At number 6, I got the New Orleans Pelicans. This is definitely where I can fully understand if someone said the Nuggets are above the Pelicans. I honestly think they might be. This is like such a close race in the West. But I have the Pelicans here with the addition of Zion Williamson coming back fully healthy, having Brandon Ingram still, CJ McCollum, Valanciunas, Herb Jones, and Trey Murphy, all these young players, and still Willie Green as a head coach. I have a Pelicans video I made on the top right of your screen, check it out. I really go in depth onto why I think the Pelicans are going to be real good this coming up year and the next years following. But Pelicans, I have at number 6. Watch out for the Pelicans. I do think they'll definitely surprise people, but over the Nuggets, I think can be a pretty big shock. I wouldn't doubt if the Nuggets were above them, but as of right now, I do have them at number 6. At number 5, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. Now the Grizzlies, led by John Morant, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr. This team is very, very, very good and very, very good defensively as well. And that's why I have them above, the Nuggets or Pelicans. I wouldn't be surprised if those two teams were above the Grizzlies, but as of right now, I do think John Morant will have an amazing year, better than last year. Hopefully healthy this full year. Dylan Brooks bring the defense, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson being one of the best rim protectors in the league. I think the Grizzlies will be very solid and definitely surprise more people than they did last year when they were the 2nd seed. But at number 4, I have the Los Angeles Clippers getting Kawhi Leonard back after a full year of absence. Paul George fully healthy, Reggie Jackson, John Wall, Luke Kennard, Zubac. This team is going to be so solid. They have a very deep bench as well. I don't think that'll really matter in the playoffs, but in the regular season, they will definitely be very, very, very good. And hopefully Kawhi Leonard isn't, injury prone throughout the year or doing his load management or whatever. And if the case is he's not going through all these injuries and everything, Paul George and him are healthy, I think they can lead this Clippers team to number 4 seed. Or maybe even higher. At number 3, I have the Dallas Mavericks led by Luka Doncic, Christian Wood, and a few other nice players. Luka Doncic, as we all know, might have an MVP candidate type of year, as I predicted in my award prediction video. I think he will be the MVP. And I think with this team adding Christian Wood, JaVale McGee, getting Tim Hardaway Jr. back fully healthy, Finney Smith, I think this team has such good surrounding pieces around Luka that'll help everyone else thrive and Luka being able to thrive. And this team being able to be just so unstoppable offensively and still having pretty good defensive guys like JaVale McGee in the paint, Finney Smith in the perimeter. I think this team is going to be very, very good. And in the playoffs last year, they made it to the Western Conference Finals, and that was before McGee, before Christian Wood, without Tim Hardaway Jr., and they had beaten the number 1 seeded Phoenix Suns in a 7-game series. Now, at the 3 players I was just telling you about, I think this team will be number 3 and possibly making a finals run. Who knows, maybe a Western Conference Finals run again, but expect the Mavericks to be coming out guns blazing this coming up year. At number 2, I have the Phoenix Suns. I'm going to be honest, I think this might be the last year for the Phoenix Suns to make a championship push. With Chris Paul not getting any younger, Devin Booker's still very, very good, as we all know. DeAndre Ayton obviously doesn't want to be there when he was trying to sign with Indiana. I just think the Phoenix Suns, their window is closing pretty fast, and this coming up year might be their last year to make a championship push. I think they'll be very good in the regular season, as they have been for the past couple seasons, but from the playoffs and on, I think they have to step it up this coming up year. But at number 1 in the West, I think will be the NBA champions of the past season, the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry, I don't think I gotta explain much about him. A top 2 point guard of all time, whether you think he's 1 or 2, that's up for debate. Klay Thompson is finally fully healthy and not, straight up coming off of an injury now. He had a fully healthy offseason. Draymond Green is back, healthy and everything. Kevon Looney showed how good he can be, even though he's a smaller big man. Jordan Poole showed how elite of an offensive talent he can be in last year's playoffs. Andrew Wiggins, break out throughout the whole playoffs last year. I think this team is just so stacked at every position. Not a super team, but literally just an incredible team. Has defense, has unstoppable offense, rebounding, even though Kevon Looney's a smaller big. They have, incredible bench scoring with Jordan Poole. I genuinely don't know what else you can ask from this team. I think they'll be the #1 seed in the West without a doubt. Now going on to the Eastern Conference, I have at 15 the Orlando Magic. I just don't think the Orlando Magic have that incredible talent. I think Paolo's going to be very good. I predicted him to be the Rookie of the Year. But Rookie of the Year does not get you to the playoffs majority of the time, especially with the team Paolo has around him in Orlando. They have Cole Anthony. I don't know if Fultz is still injured. Mo Bamba, Wagner, the Wagner brothers. But none of these players are going to help you get to the playoffs or play-in or even close to any of those two. And that's why I got them at number 15. At number 14, I have the Indiana Pacers. I don't think this team has an incredible talent. I think Halliburton is very good. Actually one of the more underrated point guards in the league. But that's kind of where it ends with pretty solid talent on that team. Dorte is pretty good. I forgot who they drafted this past draft, but I have to look it up. Miles Turner is obviously pretty good. Buddy Hield is obviously pretty good, but with rumors circulating them to being traded soon, I'm not sure they'll even be on the roster this coming up season. And if they do get eventually traded, I think they might even be 15th seed. But with them still on the roster, I think 14th seed is a pretty solid prediction for them. At number 13, I have the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons might honestly be even better than this. I don't think they'll make the play-in. I think they're too young for that still. But with Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Duren, Sadiq Bey, all these very solid players, very young players if I might add. This team eventually will get there into the play-in and playoffs the next coming years. But as of right now, I think they're still developing, gonna still, have to mesh with each other. And I think they'll make the 13th seed, maybe the 12th seed, maybe the 11th seed. They might surprise us all, but I don't think they'll make the play-in or anything. I think that's, too bold of a prediction to make. If you want to say they will, go right ahead, but I don't think they'll be there. But they might surprise me, but I think they'll be, still one of the low tier teams in the East as of right now. Number 12, I have the Washington Wizards. This is definitely a team I can see being beaten out by the Detroit Pistons in seedings, but I do have them ahead of them with Bradley Beal, Will Barton, Porzingis, and all these players. Porzingis, when he was with the Washington Wizards last year, played pretty solidly. And, adding Bradley Beal alongside him, Will Barton, I think it was Monte Morris, Rui Hachimura. This team does look pretty solid on paper, but as we've seen in the past couple of seasons, this team hasn't been amazing. Hopefully Porzingis and Beal are pretty decent together. Might boost them in the standings even more than I would expect. But I do think they'll be one of the lower teams in the East still at number 12. At number 11, I have the Charlotte Hornets with LaMelo Ball. They lost Miles Bridges. They have Gordon Hayward still. I don't think he should still be there, but they have Plumlee. I think Kelly Oubre is still on the roster. I'm not sure if he is or not. I think the loss of the LaMelo Bridges duo really sucks for this team. And then they haven't signed back Montrezl Harrell. They haven't gotten even decent big man in general. They traded Duren on draft night, who I thought could have been a very good piece alongside LaMelo. They still have Gordon Hayward's contract. I don't think is a good idea to have still. I just think this team is going to be very mid. They might even be lower than this seeding I have them at, but I have them at number 11 still. At number 10, I have the New York Knicks with Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. I think RJ Barrett is criminally underrated amongst the average NBA fan. RJ Barrett is going to be an elite talent. He might even be a borderline all-star this coming up season, and Julius Randle might get it together. Mitchell Robinson on that team, and of course the addition of Jalen Brunson and Hartenstein and everything. I think this team will be very solid in the regular season for sure. At number 9, now this is going to might be a huge surprise for some people. This team dropped from, I think they were the 5th seed last year, to now I have them at 9. I have the Chicago Bulls. I think the Bulls are having to deal with a way harder Eastern Conference than they had to deal with last year. with the Brooklyn Nets now having Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, and Kyrie Irving. The Cavaliers adding Donovan Mitchell to their team. The Hawks with DeJounte Murray on their team. The East is way more stacked than it was last year. And I think the Chicago Bulls are going to have a way worse record than they did last year. They have DeMar DeRozan still, Levine, Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball, Vucevic. This sounds like a very good team until you look at every other team that's above them. I don't think they match up very well. DeMar DeRozan played very well last year. I don't think he's going to have a repeat of that last season he had. Zach LaVine has never been a good defender, neither has DeMar DeRozan. Lonzo Ball has been a pretty good defender, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Alex Caruso has been a good defender, but he wasn't healthy last season. Vucevic wasn't a good defender, but he's somewhat of a good offensive big, I guess. Not very efficient, though. Chicago Bulls, I don't think will be very good this coming up season, especially matched up against the upcoming teams they have in the East. At number 8, I got the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young, the new addition of DeJounte Murray, John Collins, Clint Capella. Now having Trae Young as unstoppable as he is on offense, adding DeJounte Murray, who is one of the better guard defenders in the league, maybe the best guard defender in the league behind like Marcus Smart or something. That is a recipe for a unstoppable offense and defense in the backcourt. Now the Atlanta Hawks adding DeJounte Murray sounds like, you know, adding another all-star alongside Trae Young, who is arguably a superstar in the league. Sounds really good, but with the stacked Eastern Conference, I don't think DeJounte Murray and him like rise the Atlanta Hawks above all these other teams above them. That's why I got them at number 8. And number 7, I have the Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons as their big 3. That big 3 alone is very good with Kevin Durant's unstoppable offense and his good defense, Kyrie Irving unstoppable ball handling skill and offense, Ben Simmons finally coming back healthy. Ever since the 2021 playoffs, he's finally able to show off how good of a playmaker he is again, how good of a defender he is again, possibly playing the center position, being their interior defender for the year. Now the surrounding players around the big 3 is what makes them fall to 7 instead of what, you know, some other people say like top 5 in the East or something. Now Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have been together for a while now. Adding Ben Simmons alongside that, I think they'll definitely make the playoffs, even though they'll be in the playing game with the 7th seed. But I do think they'll make the playoffs still. I don't think they'll go far in the playoffs. As we saw last year, the Celtics were just so much more deep on the roster and just outplayed them in every angle in the first round and swept the Nets. Now, having Ben Simmons is still pretty good, but I don't think he elevates you, and I don't think they have good surrounding pieces to elevate the Nets to a higher seed in one of the top contenders in the East. At number 6, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers with the new addition of Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. This team is extremely scary offensively and extremely scary defensively really as well when you go into the paint. And with Donovan Mitchell adding his insanely good offense, Darius Garland still having his insanely good offense, was an all-star last season, having Jared Allen, who was also an all-star last season, one of the best interior defenders in the league, Evan Mobley, who's coming into his sophomore season, also one of the best interior defenders in the league. They still have Ricky Rubio coming off the bench, even though he had that torn ACL last year. He's coming back healthy finally. They still have Kevin Love, who's like that vet he was pretty good with them last year, really. This team is going to be very scary on both ends of the floor. The perimeter defense is probably their biggest hole and why they aren't, any higher, but they're still number 6 in my opinion, and this team is going to be real scary. Number 5, the Toronto Raptors. I'm not really sure who will be higher, the Cleveland or this team. I might put Cleveland above them at number 5 and Raptors at number 6, but I'm just going off of my notes. And Raptors I have at number 5 with Scotty Barnes, Van Vliet, Gary Trent Jr., Siakam. This team is very good, like all around, defensively, offensively. Honestly, I do think the Cavs are going to be better. I think the Cavs will be number 5, Raptors are number 6. So just ignore like the rate, standing and everything. That's something, last minute switch. I will have the Raptors at number 6 and the Cavs at number 5, but I'll just name the Raptors right now, who I think will be number 6. I think this team is very solid. I'm not sure I see them, into the Eastern Conference Finals or anything, but I think they're a very solid regular season team, and I think that's as far as they'll go into like second round territory. At number 4, I have the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, and many more. This team defensively, as we all know, one of the better defensive teams in the league, with Jimmy Butler, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, and Bam Adebayo being one of the best paint protectors in the league, and arguably a Defensive Player of the Year candidate next year. Losing PJ Tucker was pretty big for the Miami Heat. He was a very good, nice player for them. But having Tyler Hero still, they didn't go for Donovan Mitchell. Apparently they didn't even make a trade offer. So they're still with like their main core guys with Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. This team is still very, very good, and I think they'll be a very, very good regular season team. I don't predict them making the finals or anything, Eastern Conference Finals at most, but I don't even think they'll make that this coming up year. I think they'll fall short in the second round or something. But regular season wise, I think they'll be winning a lot of games and making it to the 4th seed in my opinion. At number 3, I have the Philadelphia 76ers with James Harden, Joel Embiid, Thibault, Maxey, and now PJ Tucker. James Harden, I've heard, is a lot of people's like dark horse MVP this coming up year. He looks like he's getting in shape. He took a pay cut to, get more acquisitions on this team, make them into championship contenders. And that really does tell you a lot. James Harden is actually locked in and really does want to win a championship with this team alongside Joel Embiid, who we all know is one of the best big men in the league. Some people say he is the best big man in the league. Was an MVP candidate last year, one of the best offensive players in the league, one of the better defenders in the league. And him alongside James Harden, who might, I'm not saying he's going to be Rockets James Harden, but even if he's like 3/4 of Rockets James Harden, I think the 76ers can go far in the playoffs and definitely going to be one of the top seeds in the East. Having PJ Tucker, who's a very, very, grit and grind type of player, he'll bring like that heart and energy on the court, defensively, offensively, just anywhere on the court. He'll make that hustle play that the other players don't want to make. Having Matisse Thybulle out there, one of the better young defenders in the league, Tyrese Maxey, who's one of the best young offensive players in the league. The 76ers have a lot to go for them, and a lot is looking up in Philly, and I think they'll make the 3rd seed, winning a lot of games in the regular season and winning a lot of games in the playoffs in my opinion. At number 2, I have the Boston Celtics with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, many other players like Brogdon, who they just added, Gallinari, who they just added, which unfortunate news for Celtics fans, he's not even going to play this coming up year with a torn ACL, but they still have like Robert Williams, Derek White, Marcus Smart, Al Horford. This team is still very, very deep and very, very good, but I still have the number 1 team. I think you know who it is by now, above them. But the Celtics have offense in Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford a little bit too. And many other players can go off for like a pretty good amount of points every night for this team. And defensively, they have the last year's Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. They have Derek White. They have Robert Williams. Hopefully he stays healthy. Jason Tatum showed he's a very good defender in last year's playoffs. This team is just very, very good. I wouldn't be surprised if they make the 1st seed. But I wouldn't also be surprised if they make another finals run. They go through like a revenge type season like the 2014 Spurs or something. But the Celtics are going to be very, very scary this coming up year. But I still have them falling just barely short of number 1. But at number 1, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez. I think this team has so much experience with each other. Just so amazing at every single aspect of the court. Playmaking, defense, scoring, inside scoring, 3-point shot, mid-range shot, interior defense, perimeter defense, everything in the middle, coaching staff. I think this team has it all, and if they stay healthy, hopefully they do. They have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who in my opinion is the best player in the league. Chris Middleton, who is arguably the best second option in the league. Drew Holiday, one of the best perimeter defenders, especially at the guard position in the league, can still score buckets whenever he wants, is one of the better playmakers in the league. Brook Lopez is still amazing, center, can stretch the floor, has good interior defense. I think the Bucks are going to be very, very good, as they have been for the past couple seasons, and might win another championship this coming up year. And that'll do it for my standings predictions. It took a while to record, I'm not gonna lie. My voice is almost gone. It was kind of gone for the middle of the video already. You probably noticed it. But if you liked the video, hit the like button down below, subscribe button, notification bell so you can be notified as soon as I upload. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.